Okay, I'm in Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 to 25. It's a Christmas passage to get us into the mood. We're going to look at this. I'll give us a few thoughts, then some introductory comments. I'll explain where we're going and we'll fly. Let me just pray before we look at this, and Amy is going to unmute herself to read it. Dear Father, we thank you for time sort of together. Even though we are not in the same room, as we look at your word, your Holy Spirit is in the same room. He is at work, intimately, lovingly, carefully, graciously. Thank you, Father, he is gentle with us. I pray, Father, as we look at your word, as we hear from others, as we ponder what Christmas will look like, would it be Jesus Christ who will be most glorified? Amen. Amy is reading, I think, from the International Children's Bible, and she makes no apology. Go, Amy.
Matthew 1, verse 18. The mother of Jesus Christ was Mary. How the birth of Jesus came about. Mary was engaged to marry Joseph, but before they got married, she learned that she was going to have a baby. She was pregnant by the power of the Holy Spirit. Mary's husband, Joseph, was a good man. He did not want to disgrace her in public, so he planned to divorce her secretly. While Joseph thought about this, an angel of the Lord came to him in a dream. The angel said, "Joseph, descendant of David, don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife. The baby in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son. You will name the son Jesus. Give him that name, because he will save his people from their sins." All this happened to make clear the full meaning of what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will be pregnant. She will have a son, and they will name him Emmanuel. This name means God is with us. When Joseph woke up, he did what the Lord's angel had told him to do. Joseph married Mary, but he did not have sexual relations with her until she gave birth to a son. And Joseph named the son Jesus.
I'm just going to look at one idea from this passage. Perhaps it's the story of family life, but there's trauma in our family today. My daughter, I think I can summarize the situation. She was caught cheating yesterday in a sort of important test. There was a great long discussion with tears last night about whether it was technically cheating. I decided if the rest of the class thought it was, which they did, and the teacher doesn't yet know, it's probably safest to say it's cheating. So she has sent an email to her teacher. She went in early to talk to him. She didn't want to go to school. She wanted to avoid that. My son today is taking an exam. Everyone would rather he didn't do that, but he's doing that. My wife today is having her second face-to-face meeting with a colleague since April, I think. She would rather she had had face-to-face meetings every day. She would not have picked it to be like this. My 6-year-old is having school dinners for the first time today, so that's the extent of his trauma, but he likes lasagna and that's on the menu. So I'm going to include him in our family trauma. And here am I talking to 77 wonderful people, and I would much rather be in a room with you. And I would much rather say, why don't you talk to your neighbour now, because that would be much better. For so many good reasons, my family would rather today was not like this. Some of that is lockdown related, some isn't. In this passage, Joseph would much rather it hadn't happened like this. I think it's striking. In Amy's translation, it was Joseph was a good man. In the NIV, it said he was faithful to the law. He didn't want to expose Mary to public disgrace. He was a loving, good godly man, and he was going to divorce Mary quietly. It is okay, it is good, loving, and godly to say, I don't want it to be like this. I don't want to go in today. I don't want this to happen. I don't want Christmas to be like this. I don't want lockdown to be there. I don't want to have to plan different events. I don't want to have to consider how we bring our community in when I can't even bring my church family in. It is good, godly, wise to feel like that. Joseph was a godly man, and he just didn't want this to happen. And he was going to leave. It's okay for us to come to this event, this big day out, and say, I don't actually want Christmas to happen. I don't actually want to be on my church leadership team. I don't want to have to report back to my vicar or PCC on what I've learned or what we should do. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to walk away. That would be all right. It's okay to feel that. Now, we know what happened next. I think it's simplest to think of two things that Joseph understood. The first is the baby was from the Holy Spirit. The baby we celebrate this Christmas is not like you or me. There are many births happening in circumstances that parents would choose not to happen. But this one is different. That's why we're still celebrating it. But I think what I want to focus on is what we learn in verse 23 from the prophet hundreds of years before that wrote, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they'll call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. As my daughter went into school, I could pray with her. I did pray with her. Father, Jesus is God with us. We don't have to discuss it at length. We don't have to defend ourselves. We explain it. We take the punishment. God is with us. As my son sits down to an exam in a place he doesn't really know, God with us. You do your best. Whatever the result, it's enough because God is with us. I didn't pray with my 6-year-old about lasagna that God is with us, but it is true. My wife did pray as she went to her meeting. God is with us. We'll just keep on doing it. Jesus Christ entered our bubble. He is the supreme example of being socially distanced. He came from the throne room of heaven because that is how holy and glorious he is. And he came into our bubble from being socially distanced, and he didn't even wear a mask. That's how loving and kind he was. And the outcome, verse 24, Joseph, lovely Joseph. When Joseph woke up, he did what the angel of the Lord had commanded, and he took Mary home as his wife. He chose shame. The whole town would know. The neighboring town would know. His family would know. Her family would know. Everyone would know the baby wasn't his. He chose shame. He chose difficulty. The number of conversations he would have. The amount of tears there would be. He chose pain. He chose tears. He chose awkwardness. He chose frustration. He chose uncertainty. He had no idea. Given the 6-step plan, he was not told how the next 18 years would pan out. We know what he was told. He went with God with us. So as we face Christmas, as we face today, as we face tomorrow, we don't know. We don't know. All of you at any moment during this next couple of hours could say, but what if Boris announces? What if the rules change? I don't know. I have no idea. No one today is going to tell you the answer to that question. But in my community, we've only got in my church, we've not got enough. I know. I've got no idea. We'll answer some questions, but most of them we won't. Because God has put you in your church, in your community. The fact you're here now tells me everything I need to know. You are strangely committed to the families in your church and in your community, because you are giving up far too much time to stare at a small box on a screen for too long. That's how committed you are. You have chosen uncertainty, frustration, maybe shame. Well done. The reason you can do this is God is with us. The reason you can imagine a totally different Christmas to last year, the reason why you're starting with a blank sheet of paper instead of a socially distanced carol service without carols, is because God is with us. We are the ones with hope. We are the ones with joy. We are the ones with certainty. Christ will be on his throne when the kids open their presents on Christmas Day. And God will be with us. I don't know what Boris is going to do. Christ does. He will work out a way to glorify himself in your communities and churches this Christmas. If you wanted to quietly leave now, that would be okay. This is probably the most useful thing we're going to say. God is with us. It's going to be all right. Amy, will you pray?
Yes. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this good news, that we have a Saviour who holds us tight and that we can hold tight to him. Thank you for Jesus, God with us. Heavenly Father, help us to hold on to him. Help us to point others to him. Help us to be filled with the joy of the truth of Christmas. We have Jesus. He is enough and he is worth sharing. Help us in all of our planning. Help us in all of our ideas. Help us in all of our energy and enthusiasm and ideas, or lack of them, to hold on to him for his glory's sake. Amen.
Amen. Here it is. Okay. Let me tell you what we're doing now. I'm going to introduce you to some principles of planning Christmas, and then we're heading to a breakout group, so you can just emotionally prepare yourself to actually speak and unmute. That'll happen in about 10 minutes. And then we're going to work through 5 ideas and hear some people who've done them in the past or done things like them. So let me just say a little then about, we're approaching a COVID Christmas. COVID Christmas means there's social distancing, there's wearing masks, there's a lot of one-way systems, there are tapes on the floor, there's a rule of 6. We're uncertain where the rule of 6 counts, and in some parts of the country there's not a rule of 6, there's a rule of just me. So a COVID Christmas means everything is different and everything feels difficult. But in 2018, a survey found that 49% think Christmas in church is not applicable for them. So perhaps 49% Christmas will be more applicable because they won't be in church, but we could come up with ways of them celebrating the reason for the season. That is to say, we as Christians believe that these circumstances does not mean Christmas is cancelled. Christians get to say we believe Jesus has planned this for his glory. We may not know between now and Christmas how he'll do that, but it does mean we get to be hopeful and even optimistic about Christmas. We get to imagine bigger. Now, I think something that's on our side is that if we are children's ministers, family workers, however we want to talk about ourselves, we are very used to this. We are very used to risk assessments. We are very used to understanding how serious a problem is and the likelihood of it happening and drawing a graph. So we understand when we do act. I think one of the most common questions I get asked by people who aren't in children's ministry is, you can't have any fun now because of risk assessments. And I always say, we can have fun. It's just unlike the way my dad ran Cubs, we no longer immerse children in glacial streams for fun. But we could if we did a risk assessment. This visual helps us to see we don't have to eliminate risk. Indeed, we can't eliminate risk. We couldn't last year. If you had a candle in a church for a Christingle service, if you even had your 6-year-olds holding candles, you know what it is to do risk assessments and to understand how to do risky things for Jesus safely. So this COVID Christmas is a story of risk assessments. It is a story of still doing wonderful things. It is still a story of pushing the boat out, of saying to our community, if football can do it, if grouse shooting parties can do it, then so can we. Christians can do it this Christmas. We know how to do risk assessment. So the first thing we can say is we will do it. We know Christ will be glorified and we're hopeful it will be great. So we're not just going to start by sticking plasters on last year's ideas. We're not just going to take last year's plan, socially distance it, remove the carols and assume it'll be great. We could think bigger. We could think differently. So today we're going to lay out 5 ideas. We've done some brainstorms with people around the country. We've tried to understand what would it look like to be different, even better. What would it look like to be in our communities, to be out of our buildings? Some of them might be in our buildings, but what would it look like to think bigger? The 5 ideas we're sharing with you now, we're also working on so that we can give these resources at the beginning of November. So the scripts, some risk assessments, or at least some guidelines, some talks, some videos. We're working on those at the moment for the beginning of November. Let me just run through quickly 5 ideas. Sorry, not yet. The assumptions we have made are the following. Here we go. We are looking to help our church families to place Christ at the heart of Christmas. That is, we think families in our churches need help to make Jesus the best thing about Christmas. So we in these events are trying to work out how do we help Christian families celebrate? Because there might be some families who actually have disengaged from church or Jesus in the last 6 months. So if nothing else, Christmas needs to be a re-engagement for them, a reminder it's okay with Jesus. Secondly, we want to welcome guests into our church's Christmas. Some guests who we may not have been able to welcome into before. What would it take to welcome in more people instead of less people? And finally, can we offer inspirational, flexible, and plausible alternatives to avoid, crucial word missed out, a disappointing version of last year? Okay, so that's what we're aiming to do. Some principles I've been thinking about. I don't know, but I think that families don't naturally head for our traditions. Families love memories, families love traditions. I'm not sure they head for our Christmas church traditions. Secretly, don't say it loudly, I'm not sure families who aren't in our churches and even those inside our churches love Christingle services. Even I, who have done more Christingle services than I can remember, still find it odd that we stick candles in an orange, but we still do it. So I'm not sure the rest of our community are waiting to join us in our traditions. I don't think families need many more live streams or screen options, but we are about to offer you some. So we are about to offer some live stream, Zoom, YouTube, Facebook Live options that we think are better than the rest. Families don't want Christmas to be in isolation without others' love. Families do want to see other people smiling. They do want to know they're not alone. Families don't want their children's behaviour to be on show, and I think that's the biggest problem with socially distant services, is a family walks in and sees a row of 4 chairs for their family, or 10 chairs, or however many it is, in splendid isolation from everyone else, and dad is thinking, my children always used to misbehave in church, now it'll be really clear whose children it is who are misbehaving. Families don't want a sad version of last year, because everything about families' lives at the moment is already a sad version of last year. Can we deliberately do something different to last year as a relief? Families do long for an immersive experience offering wonder. We have wonder. We are the only ones with wonder. We are the only ones with the supernatural miracle of Christmas. Everyone else just has glitter-free wrapping. Families do enjoy adventure and informality. So if our churches this year are less formal, with fewer pews, a little less well organised and more chaos, families don't mind. In fact, families breathe a sigh of relief and say, this is okay. They don't want chaos, they're happy with informality. They're happy with rough around the edges. Families do want to gather with others to be part of their community, even the people they don't know, because that's what families do at the school gate, when they drop their kids off and when they watch football with them. They're used to gathering with others and saying, we do this together and this is terrific. Families do want to create memories together. Can we offer memories? Can we offer an event? Can we offer a walk? Can we offer a way of doing something that is full of family memories, their memories? And finally, families do need preparation and a large team to execute the plan. That is to say, families do need more than just you to make this happen. So that's why you are here near the middle of October and why I am here in the middle of October. It's not because these events take 2.5 months to plan. It's because a team will take longer to do it, but do it much, much better. So you are probably in this room because you'll gather the team, or you will suggest the team, or you'll know the people who can join the team. But you know, as I know, that if we're used to working with children, it can't just be me. It can't just be you. Okay? Great. 5 ideas that we're going to run through in the order we're going to look at them. The first one we're going to look at is a Zoom nativity. What does it look like to do a nativity service for our schools, for our church, for our community? What would it look like to record a video that features people? Because we don't want to see other people on screens. We want to see ourselves on screens. We don't need it to be made like the BBC, but we do need people who we have walked past in the supermarket to be on it. Second idea, Christmas on your corner, because there is a way of being outdoors where we all participate, as we found out with NHS clapping. Could we bring Christmas to people's doorsteps? Second idea. Third idea, car park carols. Could we do drive-in Christmas carols? Because every supermarket car park is empty on a Sunday evening. And every supermarket wants to be part of their community. That's the third idea. Fourth idea, walkabout nativity. Is there a way of being outdoors or even indoors and doing some sort of immersive Christmas wonderful experience? It's so easy when it's on a picture. And then finally, a big Christmas bake-along, a real-time chance to get baking with a box of ingredients that has magically arrived at a family's door. Those are the 5 ideas we're going to look at. You may not choose to do any of them, but we think all of them are a bit different. And we think all of them could be a great way to think differently. Okay? So, first of all, we have a straw poll before you go to your breakout groups. There is one question to answer because I'm just interested to know. Okay? So the straw poll is going to come up on your screen. It's one question, and it's asking the question, what have you learnt in lockdown? We can't type in answers because Zoom doesn't allow that. We can only tick boxes. You can tick, I think, as many boxes. I think you're able to tick as many boxes as you like. Okay, so the question is, what do you think you've learnt, or what has been highlighted for you? Okay, off you go. You answer questions. I'll just keep talking quietly. While you're filling in, I will say that we are recording the whole of this session. So if 2.5 hours isn't enough for you, you can watch it all over again every day between now and Christmas. The question is, what have you learnt more in lockdown? No right or wrong answers. What have you learnt? Ten questions, you're almost there. Agree, disagree. I don't know if that made sense. Okay, we're recording the whole of this. I don't know quite. I never know with a straw poll where the answer pops up. It always surprises me and it just pops up. If you've all done it, I think Anita presses a button. It may or may not happen. I'll just count to 3. No. Okay, perfect. So we are recording this. We are going to make the slides available afterwards. I'm going to say that confidently. And Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook will be awash with all that we're showing you. Okay? And in November, we are at the very start of November. These resources will be available, but we're going to tell you all about them now, and you get to make them even better, so you don't need our resources. Okay? We're going to go to a breakout group now. The one question you could talk about. Oh, look, I've got results. I think I'm the only one who can see this. Can everyone see this? Everyone can see this. There you go. Look, I'll go down. Our families have engaged more with church? Sadly not. Our families have drifted away? Sadly, yes. Put on great events? No. 99% say no to putting on great events. 86% say it's not about Sunday school. Look at that. 93% say it is about supporting parents. 99% say by God's grace we can do this. 96% would love more training. 99% think this ministry to families feels even more important. And 100%, look at that, we can say that here, 100% say no one thinks children's ministry has become less important in lockdown. Look at that, totally unbiased view from this group of people. Now, well done. We're going to go to breakout groups now. The single question you could consider is, how far have you got in planning Christmas? What discussions have taken place? Or let's be honest, you could just talk about absolutely anything. Have a lovely time with each other, 10 minutes. The question could be, how far have you got in your thinking about Christmas? What have you understood? What have you decided? Or is everything a blur? Anita, press. Now, I'm not going to ask for questions or comments on that because I don't think we've told you enough to allow you to have questions. I hope you've been inspired by one another. Things you've heard, things that have struck you about what others said. I doubt we're going to type in the chat our greatest moment from that breakout group, but please do. But if someone said something that you just want to share, put that in chat. We'd love to hear it. I believe there's even a way of us emailing you out the chat. So if you want to put links in there, Anita, I don't know if I don't know how you're going to communicate, but Anita could type in if I've just made that up. But I believe the idea is you can type in links, you can put the resources in there. So when someone asks that question about how do you do a risk assessment for a jelly fight? You can type in, yes, Anita's going to offer to send out the chat. So that means you can fill the chat with your links, comments, better answers to questions than we have come up with. Clear? Great. Now, Amy, this is your warning. Amy is going to start by talking to us about Zoom nativity. Amy, unmute yourself and start talking.
Good morning. Right, so I want you all to imagine that you are the dragons sitting in the Dragon's Den. Now, if you haven't seen the Dragon's Den TV programme, this might be a bit lost on you, but never mind. So you've all got your own chair and setting, and some of you can do the Deborah Mead and fingers thing if you want, or the Peter Jones groovy socks. Very good, Louise, I love it. So I'm going to pitch, actually Ed doesn't know, I'm going to pitch you 2 ideas. One that got thrown in the bin, but I'm pulling it back out of the bin because we're now in lockdown in Liverpool, so I need more options of things that we can do basically without leaving the house. So the first one I'm going to pitch you, and you can use your reaction buttons. If you see down the bottom, you can do a little reaction, thumbs up, smiley faces, thumbs down, I'm resilient. Okay, so my first pitch is Advent windows. This is going to be something you could do in your community. So you could get families from your church, you could maybe get some shop owners from your local community to decorate their window with a different scene from the Christmas story. If you were super keen and you could get 24 families to sign up and do that, amazing. If you could only get 12, never mind. If you can only get 5, still do it. So you get some people to decorate their window, and I've seen these done in like country living magazines, totally beautifully, like works of art. But I think as a family, if you're going out on your scooter for a walk in your area to go and find a window, the chaver the window, the better. More like a kid's angel, a wonky donkey made out of tights with newspaper stuffed in it, fairy lights, kids' drawings of shepherds made from balloons with tea towels on their heads. So if you could get different people to put a scene from the Christmas story in their window, you could post some pictures on your church Facebook page or wherever and say, there's a new Christmas window open in town, go find it this weekend. Okay, there we go. Pitch number 1, Advent windows. We'll put this picture on as well. Oh, I got some thumbs up. Woo! I want you to invest all of your time and all of your energy for none of my money in making that happen in your area. Okay, next pitch. Zoom nativity, because we all want more Zoom. We want more Zoom. So for kids, the thing that they love about Christmas is coming in their fancy dress outfit to church to have everybody take a picture of them and go, hey! So if you could run a Zoom nativity for families to come to, you were the host with a groovy virtual stable backdrop and a fun jam, our jam, Faith in Kids Jam's joke-packed script to make it engaging, and that they then had an opportunity to see themselves on the screen with their tea towels on their heads, make the noise as the shepherds, turn up as the angels, wave at one another. You could make Zoom nativity actually fun for families in your church so that families and kids get to see other kids enjoying Christmas together. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. You run it as a Zoom call. Another way of doing it would be that you split up different parts of the script and you gave it to families beforehand, and you said at some point, could you record your kids with tea towels on their head riding scooters down the street as shepherds and saying these words or acting out this bit, email it back to me and we will jam it all together and we will have our online nativity of all of your faces and all of your fun. And make it local, make it your area, throw some local jokes in. You know, the wise men followed the spa. Oh no, it's not the spa. They're at the out, you know, you've got some of them outside your local spa. You can do better jokes than that, I'm sure. And we're going to help you with the script. but I think it would be great if you could try and do something to replace that chaos family service when people came in costumes. And, you know, if you could get a donkey to appear as well on your screen, even if it's the same wonky donkey from the Advent windows made from tights and stuffed up newspaper, how good would that be? Okay, so I've pitched you two there. Zoom Nativity, dress up and join in. We'll do you a script. We've also got our wonderful Alex, who's our groovy graphics man, working on some virtual backdrops as well, so that you've got that to use, so that you can put your energy into getting the families to join in. Okay? Is anybody, can I have some reactions? Can we have some reactions?
You get reactions, Amy, while I tell you what some
Yay!
people have offered. Flora wants to know what an Advent scarecrow is. So that is similar to Amy's idea of an Advent window. So Amy's idea is 24 windows around your community, and maybe you supply some sort of treasure hunt map, or you just do the people have to find them, and when they tick them, it's more like orienteering. Advent scarecrows is where some people have put, each church family stick a scarecrow out the front of their house, and then you have to find all the scarecrows. And clearly the variation of that is scarecrow angels. But essentially what this shows is you can come up with any combination of a walking tour around your community where they have to find some number of some things. Thank you.
And the reason I threw that back in is because even in tier 3 lockdown, when you can only go out with your family, this is still possible. And
Amy, you are in tier 3 lockdown right now. We're live to Amy.
I'm speaking to you from tier 3 lockdown. I can tell you, I haven't really noticed the difference, apart from the fact that, I don't know, we might not go out for a meal for my birthday this year.
Thank you very much. The Diocese of Bath and Wells have a great resource for Advent Angels. That is true. If Katie wanted to put a link in there to the Bath and Wells resources page, I've been sent it too, but you can find it quicker, Katie. And someone is just saying the script Amy mentioned, which will happen, a script for Zoom Nativity or a video Nativity with digital backdrops, that will be available by the 5th of November. That is our deadline for all resources to be available.
And they will be available on the website.
They're available to download for free on the website. Watch our social media channels. Great. I'm moving on. Just type in your questions. I'm now going to talk about car park. Sorry, no, I'm not. I'm talking about Christmas on your corner. So Christmas on your corner, think NHS clapping. So we got into the strange vibe of standing on our doorsteps and clapping for the NHS and waving to our neighbours and noting in this sort of clap of shame who wasn't there. Now, this is a variation on that, which is a Christmas on your corner. So it's a totally stripped back affair. It's probably not even a service, because unless you have a PA and someone who really does know their community, most people might be uncertain about a sort of 10-minute talk shouted with a megaphone. But you might want to do that. What's for certain is you get a man or woman on a guitar. Maybe you have the technology to amplify a piano, and you do 6 Christmas carols on a spot where as many families can see it as possible. Could we sing if we're stood on our own doorstep as if we were Italians? Could we have that moment, the Italians do it, they hang out their balcony and sing an aria? Can we do the British version of that, or the South African version of that, where you hang out your windows and you sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and Mandy who's 6 shouts it out the window? And so someone is leading the singing as an act of community spirit. Do you hand out a resource pack that has been packed more than 3 days before, so you can reassure the most vulnerable that the service sheets with the words to the carols hasn't been touched by a human hand for 3 days? Maybe in that bag is a flyer from your church, a Matthew's Gospel, because we're all about Matthew 1 this Christmas. We are hoping to produce a handout for families, a sort of one-side worksheet for families to do, because we know that families want more to do for themselves that isn't homework. Is there a resource pack you give to everyone? Could your church go to 5 different corners to do this carols on your corner? Or even better, could people who live on that road say, I will be the host for my road? I will post these invitations into the houses 2 days before to say, I, the bloke you know at number 2, will be on that patch of grass outside our house. We'll be singing these 5 carols. Will you stand at your door and sing them with me? And then there is this sort of travelling troupe who come from the church, a bloke on a guitar, a woman on a keyboard, a bloke who operates the sound, and a man with bright lights. And they arrive for this 20-minute chaotic carols on your corner, and then that host gets to run around afterwards and do socially distanced air kissing to say, wasn't that brilliant? Sorry if that annoyed you, madam, because there was one concern I heard about this one. Isn't it quite intrusive? I think my answer to that is it's as intrusive as singing carols, and it's probably less intrusive if there's at least one face there who the community know, who lives next door to them. So I'm saying no, it's not. Could you even go bonkers and do 3 consecutive weeks? So after the first one, people are thinking that wasn't actually anywhere near as bad as I thought it would be. And you just throw in a couple of well-known specials like Hey Jude, Yellow Submarine, and Reach for the Stars to make it feel like it's karaoke on your corner, and then you become ever more Christian as the weeks go on. By the end, everyone's saying, Ed, do another one. Let's do this every week. And before you know it, you've planted a church. It's that simple. That is Christmas on your corner. Final idea. For this idea and many others, wait, Amy, I'm coming to you. Why don't you have a new board outside your church? Not the old notice board, but a brand new one to say, this is the Christmas offering this year. It is the church Christmas board. And you say, like you go into a zoo, 2 o'clock feeding the pigeons, 4 o'clock feeding the elephants. 2 o'clock will be at Buckley Avenue, 4 o'clock will be at Gresham Close, 7 o'clock will be on that bit of grass outside the unknown place that you know about. Amy, go.
So I think the big barrier to doing that is feeling a bit of a wally and not wanting to do it on your own. So you have to get somebody in to do that with you. And Ed, aren't you going to put a little bit of a suggestion together for us of like what we could sing?
Yes. So Faith in Kids resource for this one is we're going to give you 6 obvious carols you could sing. We are going to give you that handout to give out to your families. We are going to give you the basis of what we would do if we had this 20-minute moment of chaos. But realistically, these resources will only ever be you going, oh, for goodness sake, it's that simple. We don't need you for this. But that is what we'll provide.
And in terms of people worrying about how to do it and stop it becoming like an impromptu service and a big gathering, is that you would say it's that you do it for your own street. And so the tier 3 lockdown, our street, I could deliver an invitation to people in my street through their letterbox ahead of time to say at 7 o'clock on Sunday or whatever, we're going to do carols on our corner. Christmas comes to our street, and stay in your doorsteps. We'll all have some fun and sing together. So you are trying to remind people that.
Thank you. Someone has just asked the question, how do you stop people crowding round in an area where people don't really care about social distancing? I think a key part of this is that invitation that arrives in advance to say we are doing it. We're doing it on this day. It comes from a cheeky chappy in that your own road, so it feels more informal. I think that invitation is your chance to scribble on the corner whatever you think is right for your community. So what I love about this idea is it's bringing church to the community from someone in the community. So what it comes with is the love and warmth and the knowledge of the area and what will work, rather than the vicar who doesn't know our road and says that slightly jarring thing that I wish he didn't or she didn't say. So you get to say, for my area, these are the concerns I have, and this is how I need to make it work. That's why I love this idea. Thank you. Does anyone just want to scribble in any questions in the chat, thoughts you're having? You will have a moment to talk this through in your breakout groups to shout why that's the worst idea you've ever heard. So probably keep that for the breakout groups rather than telling us that now. But otherwise, Amy is just warming up to tell us about car park carols.
Well, is the lovely Ian here today as well?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hooray!
Ian is there. We've got the lovely Ian. We're about to have the Amy Ian double act.
That's actually my name, Lovely Ian. It's
Ian, is your cat going to join us today?
Okay, off you go. Ian and Amy, you start talking.
Okay, well, this is an idea we're doing in Kidsgrove, Stoke-on-Trent. We're going to call it Carols by Carlight. The thinking is we want to do something that's just very different from what we would normally do. We can't do a carol service. We do two big events normally, Carols by Candlelight, and we do something called Kidsgrove Does Christmas. We take over the town hall and we do a jingle jangle, tinsel, everything except Father Christmas because I'm allergic to him. And sort of get a little bit of evangelism in there, but really trying to have fun. Well, we can't do either of those this year, so we're doing them both in Tesco car park. Tesco have said yes. So it's on Sunday, the 20th of December, the last Sunday before Christmas. They shut the shop at 4 o'clock. We're allowed in the car park at 3 o'clock to set up. And what we're hoping of doing, the first one is Kidsgrove Driving Christmas. Will be probably about 5:30 for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And it will be that jingle jangle, as much fun as we can possibly have. The idea is you drive in, so you come in your bubble and you stay in the car and you leave in your car, so you don't actually touch anyone or anything. On the way in, except on the way in, they'll be given a goodie bag, which they'll need for the event, which I've picked up from something that just said that I need to do that about 3 or 4 days in advance. And then our car park is a weird shape, and there are barriers for people seeing. So, like trolley shelters are in the way. So we're going to hire borrow a cherry picker. We reckon because it's a weekend, we'll get one for free. We may have two. So I'll be up a cherry picker. I'm scared of heights, so it'll be optimum between being able to see and terrified.
Ian, are you going to put tinsel on your cherry picker?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, that went without saying. I mean, I'm embarrassed you asked. So I'll be up a cherry picker with someone on the camera. We're hiring in somebody to stream this live. So he's got to buy hire an equipment to stream it live to the internet. And then everyone will, in their cars, bring their phones and be able to watch it. Now, my original idea was that they were going to produce a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that so people could bring anything that could connect to a Wi-Fi hotspot. Apparently, the technology is not available to do that. If anyone knows different, I'd really like to know. So they are going to have to use their own data, which I think is unfortunate, but there we are. We'll have to advertise that so they know what they're doing. And then we'll just have 45, 50, maximum an hour chaos of singing, you know, things like I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day. And then over the hour, we'll recreate the original Christmas with things like Mary's going to arrive. I don't think a donkey is right because we want her to go up and down all the aisles of the car parks. Everyone can see it. So it might be on the back.
You're going to make a cutout donkey. You're going to strap it on the side of the trolley.
We absolutely are with tinsel. Yeah. And when I'm getting the order wrong now. Oh, the angels, the idea is that in the craft bag, in the goodie bag, you'll have the craft to make an angel and stick it on top of your car. You'll only be allowed to go out the driver's door so you don't see anyone else. And then we're going to have tea towels printed so that everybody gets 2 tea towels, which will have our church logo on, John 3:16, because it's not just for Christmas, a tea towel. And maybe some sponsorship to get it for free. So then everyone can become a shepherd. You'll get a bit of elastic to become a shepherd. We'll hopefully have a roving camera so we can go to car to see some of these things happening. Everyone will get a toilet roll. So the challenge will be to wrap someone up in a toilet roll, like swaddling clothes, That's not going to be easy in the back of a car, but there's the fun without breaking the toilet roll. Things like that. So it's a little bit, you might think it's irreverent and offensive, and if you do, I am so sorry. That's what we do. It's just got to be fun and different. And then what else are we doing? Refreshments. Tesco's are doing refreshments for us, which we can deliver on a tray. They wind in the window and they take it off us, but not the tray, if you see what I mean, so that no one touches each other's things. The Kings, that's right, they're going to arrive in a sports car with a star on a stick sticking out the front, or on a motorbike just going ahead of them, so they can follow the star all up and down Tesco.
Ian, am I allowed to ask you questions yet?
Oh, sorry. Were you meant to ask me questions?
I'm going to ask you questions at the same
All
time.
right. I just got
loving it, but everybody is drastically fast writing notes.
It's been recorded. You can watch it half speed on YouTube.
This is true. This is true. So we can sing in our cars, can't we? Because we're all in a bubble.
I hope so.
Yes, yes. Because you're in your family bubble in your car so you can sing.
Yeah.
So this is getting around that.
Yep.
You're leading from a cherry picker.
Yeah. The angel will go in the cherry picker really high up when the angel appears, you see.
And everyone can turn their lights on and flash their lights too. Great.
Thank you. Noted.
Get carried away with that. Just tell me again, how are people going to hear what's being said? Through
their phones. We're not allowed to. Tesco's they're really concerned that we'd make a lot of sound pollution with too loud a PA.
Okay.
So we won't even have a PA. It will all just be through your phone. So you have to bring your phone in order to be able to hear.
Great. Oh, you've got refreshments. You've got things for people to do in the car. You've got stuff for them to make on top of the car. They've got refreshments. It does sound absolutely amazing, but it does also sound like a lot of cost and a lot of effort and a lot of palaver.
Yeah, well, it's the only thing we're going to do this year. I mean, I love all the other ideas, but I just think this is it. I'm going to get a team together. They don't know it yet, but I'm going to get about 8 people who are each going to have one person's in charge of power, because there's no power in the car park. So how are we going to do that? One person is in charge of the craft bags. Someone else is in charge of the stewarding. We're going to need stewards to get the cars and place them exactly where we want them, so they're facing the right direction and we don't have lots of empty spaces that are a mess. So it's going to be a team effort. The cost, I mean, there's 200 spaces in the car park, so we want 400 tea towels. We can get them £1 each. So we're just saying to the church, will you sponsor a tea towel? The cost of hiring the Wi-Fi equipment and the cameras and the lights as a company, that's going to cost about £2,000.
Wow.
We've got a town council here who have money for community events, and there are no community events. So we think the chances of getting the money off them are pretty high. That we've got a good relationship with them. So you can only ask, and if we can't, well, we'll have to hone it, really hone it back to absolute bare minimum and see what we can do.
And you're going for it?
We're going to do it. Even if we get no money, I reckon we'd be able to raise £1,000 to do something. And everybody who I've mentioned it to so far says, oh, that's brilliant. So I think we're going to get 2 full car parks. My question is whether we have to ticket it. I'm really nervous about doing something like that. But
now, Ian, last time we spoke about this, you said something very inspirational about your church roof and how much you spend on that and how it would be.
Oh no, it was just that we spend a fortune on buildings. So if you can't spend a little fortune, a few £1,000s on evangelism, then you've lost the plot. So we've got to just get our priorities right and spend money on evangelism. So that's why I want to spend it on tea towels. You get a tea towel with the Bible on it, and you just keep using it until it wears out, because no one ever chucks out tea towels. You get the gospel in your dishes every day, don't you? It's brilliant.
Great. Well, we're planning a slightly less high-tech version, because I don't think we've quite got the cherry picker access, but I've got people looking into it. Planning to meet in our church car park, and we're going to get a flatbed trailer to have some hay bales and somebody standing in it with a PA system, and we're just working out how to do, because ours is in a leisure centre car park, which is not near houses, so we haven't quite got the same noise pollution issue, so we can just do loudspeakers and things like that. So we're in.
I'm jealous. That sounds a load easier.
But yes, but the other, I guess we all now want to know what a house price is like in Kidsgrove, and
Kisgrove's Stoke-on-Trent's one of the cheapest places in the country to live.
There you go.
And we're on tier 1 lockdown, so you need to come.
Go on, Ed.
Ian, just tell us a little more about the technology as you have understood it. Just tell us, what have you ruled out and how are you going to do it?
Well, the first idea was to use car radios, because I've been to a drive-in cinema this year, and I looked at the price of a license to do drive-in with FM radio transmission is about £500. So then I happened to know this company and asked them, and he said he could do it, streaming for 500. And I think, well, that's a no-brainer. For the same money, you get vision as well as sound. You can put song words on, people can see me speaking and stuff like that. So that's definitely a no-brainer. But the other problem with using your car radios is when we went to the cinema, we flattened our battery, and they were very quick at having jump start stuff, but we don't want to invest in that for one event. So the technology, I don't really know, because we're paying a company to do it, but for the money, he's providing something to stream to the internet, and the lights and the cameras and the sound system to do that. So we get quite a lot for £2,000.
What do you Google to find that company, Ian?
Oh, it was a friend of a friend. It was someone in our church who did a sort of business community thing, and when we were doing streaming cameras, he knew someone. So I would ask in church, because people have friends. And actually, in looking we contacted him for streaming cameras in church, and actually it was amazing. In Stoke-on-Trent, there were 3 or 4 companies that could have done that for us. So the companies are out there.
Ian, a few things have come in. First of all, Louise Silk is thrilled that you are here because you were her youth group leader when she was a rebellious teenager.
Oh, hey. We met at Spring Harvest in a swimming pool and chatted a couple of years later. That was a bizarre conversation going
round. You mentioned swimming pools, Ian.
Hello, Louise. I don't know where you are, but hello.
Next, someone is just saying, Ian, this sounds like a lot of mobile data. How on earth can this work?
Well, I don't know. He told us it would.
Great. Next. Question for Ian. Do you have a community radio station that broadcasts on the internet?
I don't think so.
No, great. We'll move on. Thank you. Someone has asked a different question about Carol on Your Corners. The government at the moment is saying you can sing if you're 3 meters apart. So it's not that no one is allowed to sing anywhere, but if you are outdoors, if you're indoors, they're saying 3 meters apart. If you stay in your garden, outside your front door, you can sing, okay? The questions are coming in. I've just been told live, we are going to provide a mock-up of an invitation for Carol on Your Corner, okay? It's cutting edge. It's happening in front of your very eyes. Does anyone else want to type in any questions on the chat? I'm about to send you to breakout groups, and then
there's just been a question about charging. Ian, are you going to charge tickets for people to come?
Nope. I just don't like charging people. I just want to say it's free, completely free. Come and have some fun, and then they can't complain when it goes wrong, can they? Because we're not charging them.
And I think if all you're paying is your data to be in something as amazing as that, as a family, I'm totally in. We've not been to anything for months.
Oh, and can I just raise a problem? There is a problem that I've not overcome yet. We stream to Facebook Live every Sunday, and I've realised if we do it like that, there's a 20-second delay, and that's a real problem because we want to say, flash your lights now, and then we've got to wait 20 seconds before they hear it. So I've got to try and find a different streaming system. So that's a bit of a problem.
Tell us more problems, Ian.
Somebody on here is going to fix that for you, I've no doubt. Either that or just style it out like, the Eurovision Song Contest style. Just, can you come in?
Now, there's an idea. We go live to Mary. Yeah.
Thank you. Lots of people are now asking. I made a mistake of seeking clarification on singing, and lots of people now have alternative views on this. We will, when we produce resources, we will try to be clear. People are raising that if you live in a terraced house, you can't be 3 meters away from your next door neighbour. I'm sure that's true. So come up. The part of the community is that family have to go to the window upstairs. You come downstairs. That's the joy of community. You can make it work.
Julianne wants to know if we're allowed to go to the loo this morning.
Right. We are now going to have a break. So people keep asking about the baking idea. We haven't done it yet. We have done 3 ideas. We're sending you to your breakout groups now to to talk about 3 ideas, or any ideas. The 3 ideas we've talked about, but Amy actually snuck in an extra one. But Amy started with Zoom Nativity. She snuck in Advent windows. Then we heard about carols on your corner and carols in a car park. So we're going to a breakout group now. And on the other side of that, you can have a break, okay? So now we're going for 10 minutes. Then there's a 5-minute break, which means we start again at 11:15, okay? We're coming back in. Thank you very much. Some are rushing in. Well done. 5-minute break isn't very long, is it? I hope I've got my coffee. You heard me trip over. Fortunately, I said crumbs with my microphone not muted. That was almost a very awkward moment. Imagine if I'd sworn loudly to 100 people. Great. So we have looked at nativity windows, which Amy snuck in under the radar. We have looked at Zoom nativity. We have looked at car park carols, and we have looked at carols on your corner. We have 2 remaining, but before we look at those 2, can we just try to capture some of the questions that people are asking? Some of the insights that came from people's groups. A question I like asking is, what would it take for you to be able to do this? I'm not saying we could provide the difference. Someone in our group was getting in a minor fluster about AM, FM and online streaming. I said, wouldn't it be amazing? There must be someone in your church who's waited their whole lifetime to know how their tech geek knowledge can be used to serve Jesus Christ. And she said, I know who that is in my church. And I thought, look, the Lord provides. So now someone is saying they would love some sort of guide on FM streaming, internet app options. So I might try and persuade Ian to scribble down his 5 thoughts. Sorry, Ian. If you scribbled down, Ian, your 5 thoughts, then I might try and find someone tech who can then make it wonderful for us. Okay. We plan to fit. People are answering ideas. People keep on asking about the baking idea. It is coming, I promise. No one is offering insight, chat, questions, complaints, or annoyance on the chat. So if that's the case, I think we just plow on, and I'm just content that your breakout groups are sourcing it for each other. That's the goal of those. So let's go. Amy is part of the team of Faith in Kids. Amy, why don't you start just by blurbing 15 seconds on who you are, where you are, and what you do, before you tell us, Amy, about Walkabout Nativity, and Daryl is joining us to tell us more about that. Amy, unmute. Are you there?
I'm here.
Great.
So my name is Amy. I am a mum to 4 kids. And my husband's name is Steve. That's a Scouse thing, if that's confusion to you. I work part-time for my church and part-time for Faith in Kids. And I am passionate about making the Bible fun and real and engaging with kids. Is that enough, Ed? I like
enough.
Speech. My favorite colour is if I was an animal, I'd be an armadillo. No? Okay. What am I talking about now? He's just eating a biscuit. Walkabout Nativity. Great. I'm going to show you my picture because this is how my brain works. So you've probably done these before in your church hall, or maybe you haven't. So the idea is that people get to meet the cast of the Nativity. So we've done these before in schools, we've done them in a community centre, and we've generally set up a gazebo. We've set up 4 gazebos. People arrive, they go and meet the characters in the different gazebos. So they maybe start in Mary's kitchen, and they go meet Mary, and Mary would be saying, oh, I'm brushing the floor, I'm making a biscuit. And then, pizzazz, somebody appears who's dressed up as an angel and says, you're going to have a baby. And you get to experience something of the Christmas story. You meet Joseph in his workshop, and he talks to you about how he was worried and he didn't know what to do because the baby wasn't his, but then an angel spoke to him in a dream, and he does all this while hammering some nails into trough or a bench or whatever it is he's making. And then you go off to see the shepherds who tell you the angels have been to see us, and they give you cotton wool to stroke, and they've got tea towels on their heads, and then they tell you, go and find the baby, and you head off to the stable scene, and you meet Mary and Joseph, and hopefully there's a couple in your church that have recently had a baby, that they can sit there and hold the baby, and everyone can socially distantly stand back and go, wow, the real story of Christmas, the great truth is that Jesus came, God with us. This is what Christmas is all about. So that's the idea of a walk through nativity. Now, obviously, we've ripped up the plan in terms of doing these indoors, and it's December, and let's be outside more. So could you do this in your local park? Could you put some gazebos up? Could you do this in your churchyard? Could you do this in a hall and do a one-way walk-through system where you sanitize your hands before you go through, and you have donkey departure times so that your groups of 6 go through at a set time following the star? They stay on the little marked path. They say hello to all the characters. They pick up their goodie bag that's got stuff in it that's been quarantined for 72 hours and is on a table, so that they just pick up their bag and take it with them. They make a little lantern that they put a tea light in it, and we all just go, it's okay, we're wearing wellies and lots of layers. It's all a bit crazy, but let's have fun and go for it. So that is Walkabout Nativity. You could do it in different people's gardens in your area. You could do it around your churchyard. You would have to think about how you're going to encourage social distancing, how are you going to stagger people walking around, how are you going to keep people back from the gazebos? Can you put a little thing that they're just looking into it? Anyway, you can do it. So that, yes. And I believe we have another the lovely Daryl.
Hello.
Hello, Daryl. You're going to tell us more about it, aren't you?
I hope so.
Good.
Shall I just start talking?
Go for it, Daryl.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Daryl. I'm a schools worker in Kingston upon Thames. And we run 6 of these events. We call it the Christmas Journey, where we do it in Kingston. And so we run one in a church in each different town in the borough. So one in Kingston, Surbiton, Chessington, etc. And then we do it for schools. So we invite all of year 2 in the borough, which is about age 6 to 7, and they come round in class groups of 30. So in total, every year, about 2,000 children come round, and that's just from the schools, which is on average about 300 kids per church. And so we invite everyone. There's about 80% take up from the invitations. So we know that something's going reasonably well there because they keep coming back. And then the churches, they open it up to the community in the evenings, and even more people come round. And that probably works best at Chessington Evangelical Church, where there's a long queue outside the building. Demand is so high that groups are going around every 7 minutes. And as soon as one group moves on to the next scene, another one starts. It's what it looks like. It looks like you're actually there at the original nativity. The actors, they get all dressed up, playing the roles, as Amy's just said. So you meet Mary and Gabriel, Joseph, a wise man. You'll be taken round by a shepherd in a tea towel. And as Amy said, if you're really good, you have a live baby Jesus, but we use a doll. But what we do is, as everyone goes around, they're searching for the promised rescuer, they're searching for Jesus. And each actor is in a gazebo scene that gets decorated in an authentic way, but you put up your fairy lights, and if you're good, you get a projector out and beam some realistic picture onto the background, and keep it dark inside so it feels more cozy in the winter. And every scene has its own sound effects and smells, so it's a completely immersive experience. You can even get puppets out if you like. At Cornerstone, we even make our own camel poo from straw and coffee grounds. It's very realistic, but it smells better, but you don't want to tread in it. And the children even get to put their own tea towel on their heads. So they look like shepherds as they go around, and teachers think it's adorable. Teachers respond to this. Ours is, like I say, ours is an educational one that we do. So we also have a learning zone. So whilst the children are off doing some activities, the teachers can sit down and they can enjoy a cup of tea and a mince pie while filling in their feedback forms. And I'll share a couple of quotes with you from what they've said in the past. They've said, great atmosphere, immersive, brilliant acting from actors, good interaction for children, well organised and structured. The whole journey was so engaging for the children. I liked how interactive with the shepherd's head wear, clear and concise delivery of the Christmas message through a talk, and wonderful interactive drama. So I hope you see the vast majority of the feedback is positive. If you've got a teacher who's a bit skeptical, invite them or their head teacher to come round first and watch another class go round. And by the end, they're always saying, this is brilliant, we're definitely coming next year. We launched one in Teddington last year. One boy came round with his school and he loved it so much that he brought the rest of his family around later onto the community evening. So it's not just reaching school children, but also bringing their families into the church building where they meet us.
Daryl, can I ask, have you got schools booked for coming round for this year? Is that going to happen?
Yeah. I'll tell you what we're doing this year, because it is going to be very different. Yeah. So last year, for the first time, we wrote our own book called The Christmas Journey to go with it. We printed 2,000 copies of this, and we gave them away to every child that came. And that book explains not just the Christmas story, but the whole story of the gospel of Jesus, the rescuer. So we'll definitely be doing that again. But we're probably not going to host live shows for schools this year. If we do, like you've said, they're going to be outside, probably for the community. Yeah. You have to limit it to groups of 6. Yeah. Now, at the moment, depending on where you live, you can do that on your own land. You don't have to do everything that we do. It's probably enough to just put a tea towel on your head and tell someone the Christmas story. But for us, we need something that's lockdown proof. Yeah. And so because schools aren't really coming out on trips at the moment, in response, we've decided to produce our first movie. It's going to be The Christmas Journey, the movie. So we're going to ask the best actors from each of the 15 churches that support us to record their scene as professionally as we can. And then we're going to try to put a theme day together. So the children are going to watch it together in their classrooms. And then maybe I or one of the other staff can zoom in afterwards for a question and answer session. We're going to try to send in some activities into schools along with the books so that they can have a bit of a theme day and make it something special. But like I say, it needs to be lockdown proof so that if schools shut down again, the videos can still go home on YouTube. And we hope that what we do this year is going to hold those relationships that we've carefully built up with the schools over the years, so that next year they'll come back again. Because this is just like one of 3 events that we run for schools. We also do a similar thing at Easter, and then a similar thing at summer.
Hey, Daryl, brilliant. We love you. We're made up that these things are happening. I guess we need to keep rolling, but also we need to. What can we do in our own churches and in our own communities that's possibly lower key and that we can deliver? So I think what you said there was brilliant about, just a few people. You got to get families around fairly quickly. What is the Christmas message you want to remind them? It's about the birth of a saviour. It's about God being with us. Ed, are we moving on to another idea?
Yes. Is there anything to wrap up on that, Amy? No, I would only just say that on that one, on Walkabout Nativity, I think that one is probably the one, if it's outdoors, it's the one most likely to be wrecked by weather. So, for instance, Amy's Advent windows, if it rains today, we just do it tomorrow. The windows are still there. I think it is also just worth saying, it's probably the people in this room who understand. When it rains, families just put more coats on and bigger boots. So there are some in the community who, when it rains, everything is a disaster. Personally, I'm waiting for church to gather outdoors so I can tell my children we're going to do this in the rain and that's no problem, and we'll just do more star jumps when the preacher's happening. You know that so I think this group may be the ones to say to our church leadership, I know this sounds like weather, Britain, wet, singing are going to be the problem. I don't think for the group we're talking about it needs to be. Thank you.
Caitlin's off worshipping in wellies.
Say that again, Amy.
Caitlin is saying, call it worship in wellies.
Worship in wellies. Caitlin, you can trademark that. Go for it.
And we want to know if Daryl's videos are going to be available to use in other schools as well. Is this something that we can pinch and give to our local schools?
If you get in touch with us directly, we'll get you the link. There might be some copyright issues on some parts of the script, so if that's not allowed, then get in touch privately and we'll do that.
How do they get in touch with you, Daryl?
Our website is insightinkingston.com.
Insight in Kingston.
Could you stick that in the chat, Daryl?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Lizzie. The wonderful Lizzie is saying we're planning something similar. Hut the Nativity in our. Is it really? Is that
Hunt? Sorry, I missed the N. Hunt the Nativity.
I thought that sounded sort of very modern, not real words. Great. So hunt the Nativity in our local park or common in London. Families will walk around and find all the Nativity characters. Doesn't matter what order they find them. Each character, 12 people dressed as people and animals. A Bible verse to find, unscramble the Bible verse. They've got a great big common next to them. Everyone can be socially distanced. Lizzie, that sounds terrific. You are living the dream. These are ideas. Lizzie had that before this, but you could take one of these ideas and make it your own, because as we keep saying, your community understands your community best. So for each idea, when you're thinking, but in our community, you get to then fix it for you. Great. We're now on to Bake Along a Christmas. Now, the idea of Amy's excited. The idea of this is that it is a real-time baking with gospel talk. So on a screen. So there would be two people. One is going to present what's going on, probably host it from your church. And one is going to do the baking. So step by step. I think the genius of this idea is that before this happens, you drop the measured ingredients you need at every family who wants to take part. And you would, so that families opt in, but clearly the alternative way you do it is the families in church, you say, why don't you make up 3 kits? Pick 3 families, those you love the most, drop off the ingredients, because that becomes, if you like, a deposit for the event. Because once you've got the ingredients for this item, probably gingerbread people, then you've got to join the event or you're never going to know what to do with these mystery ingredients. And in that pack is going to come a flyer from your church, the Faith in Kids handout worksheet that I've already mentioned, the details of how you log in, so that then the family sits down at the same time and in real time bakes a biscuit. And during that 10 minutes that the biscuit is in the oven, you're going to come up with a range of activities to get them running around their home. In discussing this as a team, we suspect that this one might be the idea that would benefit from us doing more for you. So although we are going to give you a script and the recipe and the script for the baker, we're also going to do this event live the weekend of the 11th to the 13th of December. So if this feels like it's technology or expertise beyond your church, then we are going to do this hopefully with a baker that some people might have heard of. And then we are going to put this out so that in exactly the same way, your church could buy into it. You could distribute your whatevers. We'll provide the invitation to say, join the Faith in Kids Bake Along at this time on this website. And then they bake along. I will be explaining the birth of Jesus through the medium of flour, icing, and gingerbread men. I'll be providing some activities for 10 minutes while it's in the oven of a well-known baking person. Amy is holding up a real-life visual aid. This might be the gingerbread person we make. Do you see why we're making gingerbread people? Because God with us, God became a man. It's like a perfect illustration. So we think the strengths of this is that it's inclusive. That means ability to afford ingredients doesn't get in the way. Anyone can take part. It's our gift to you. It's coming to you. You don't have to come to us. We are going to make it possible to you to do it. It creates a family memory. A family get to do it. We all know baking with 3-year-olds is mostly chaotic and only half the ingredients goes into the oven. Who cares? Create some memories of the time they did it in their home. And this idea could equally be done with a Christingle if, unlike me, you still think Christingles are God's gift to the world in how to explain Christmas through the medium of oranges, sweets, cocktail sticks, and red ribbons.
Let it go, Ed.
Sorry.
Let it go, Ed.
Let it go. Look, I'm all in favour. I just think let's change it up.
Okay.
That is the 5th and final idea, the big bake-along. Let me just put my idea down and let's just see if we've got any questions. Some people are dashing off. You don't need to tell us. I mean, you can. We'll say goodbye, but you're gone. Thank you for joining us. Sounds wonderful. Will it be limited numbers? How will the technology work? It won't be limited numbers. The most likely option is we learnt for our grand Easter fiesta. I can't remember what we called it, but we learnt for the
surprise of your life.
The surprise of your life. We did that on YouTube Premiere. It's unlimited numbers. We definitely discovered that with a Premiere, you get that sense of I'm joining it real life, but I could secretly do it later. So there's not limited numbers. We can't yet be certain of the dates because we don't yet have people lined up or many details. But this could be for your church to do because that keeps it local. Or you could think, do we want to buy it? When I say buy in, you don't pay anything, but you could join the Faith in Kids Grand Fiesta. Thank you, Katrina, for thinking gingerbread is better than Christingle, but let's not have a vote, okay? We think we're struggling with is a good name. Julie, what name are we talking about? Shout out, Julie, a name for a child.
For the whole event.
Okay.
So, I don't know, Christmas bake-along, I don't know. It's
Big Christmas bake-along.
Big Christmas or bake-along at Christmas is my preferred one, but Amy and I will have a arm wrestle later to decide which we go for. Can I just... Yes.
You can, if it is totally beyond people to even bake, you can join in with the fun and then you can ice a shop-bought one. If for your community, thinking of baking and ovens and whatever is a nightmare, you could deliver a pre-baked one with icing stuff for them to join in the icing bit. Just everybody can.
The ways to vary this are endless. Can you give examples of ideas once gingerbread is in the oven? We will be providing that with our script. But if you want to just get the idea, it's things like that treasure hunt game. First one to bring a yellow sock to the screen wins. First one to find mum's largest hat wins. You could also just do minor movement games, 6-star jumps. What exercises can you do? Can you close your eyes and stand on one leg? This is what you do. All of you are thinking, Ed, don't tell us. We're the people who invented these games. Duck, duck, goose is always good. We had a conversation in our breakout group of how do we make these ideas applicable for teenagers. I think that is a great question. So if you are seeking to reach teenagers, if you have teenagers in your church, it is worth thinking. A lot of the ideas we're giving have that under 11 appeal. It is trying to make Christmas exciting and enthusiastic and feel the wonder and the awe. I leave it to you to wonder, with better people than us, what does it look like to bring the cool? What does it look like to bring the teen engagement, participation?
Give them a job.
It's whose job, Amy?
You give them a job.
You give them a job. Thank you, Amy. We've got ideas pouring in now. Gingerbread, teens love baking. Teens love baking. We heard it here first from Kath. Thank you. I think now we're going to go to our final breakout group. I think ideally in this breakout group, the question is clearly what's gripped you, what barriers remain, encourage one another, what's possible, work out what skills do you need to bring to the table in your church. I actually leave it to you. You're all adults. You're well able to have a conversation without me telling you what to talk about. Bring your questions. Sorry, just getting myself together. Now, while we are on the home stretch, we're going to finish early. Now would be an opportunity to scribble links, comments, questions, complaints. If only you would provide us with. Someone in my group said this. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking for a moment. A point that I think, a theme that we see running through this is normally at Christmas, we are trying to pack as many people as possible into a building and make it as anonymous as possible. I think this year could be wonderful in that we're saying, I wonder what it would be to put church in people's communities and in people's homes. So one thing that occurs to me is it does mean perhaps that members of the congregation get to own Christmas more. So for instance, I think it takes courage for someone to say, I would like to host carols on my corner. I would like a small church team to come and help me do a carol service for my neighbours, and I am willing to be known as the Christian on my road. It takes courage to say, I'd like my window to be decorated on my road. I'd like people to know that I'm part of this grand endeavour of our church in our community. So I think you see that across our ideas, they are a mixture of what we think is a sort of more bomb-proof version of online or Zoom, more appealing than the norm by this point. Others are in your community, and most of them are outdoors. I think the more creative people are wondering what they can do with the outside of their church building. What will they project onto the side? When in the week will they bellow Christmas carols out from a loudspeaker? What notice board will they put up? What lights will they shine? In that our buildings probably are more of an advertising and an outdoor spectacle than they normally are if there's no indoors. We've got Bake Along, include a whole church family and get people to give away half of what they bake. Give away to neighbours with a Bible message and info on what the church is doing. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is our family. My 10-year-old son has learned to bake everything with chocolate in. All of our neighbours now get 6 chocolate triple muffins whenever he bakes. He has to wash his hands 12 times during the process and he can't stick his finger up his nose. So bake along and give away the contents. Car park idea could be a film. The Star is a really good one. The outside of your building could be a film, a walk-in cinema. Is there a link to a suggested nativity window idea? I think I have one I could send you that how would I do that? I will try and make sure that's included on the chat.
I've just said.
What, Amy?
I've just said not yet because I wasn't supposed to mention it. So we hope there will be, but it will be by the 10th of November rather than the 5th.
Okay. And I'm just saying there are other links to other people's Advent nativity windows. I've got it. Right. No more questions are coming in. I think we're on the way in. Let me just tell you a few things to consider. This, a recording of this will go onto the Faith in Kids YouTube page. So if you want to send people to that, all of our social media channels will be directing people to that. Someone put up, thank you, Joe White. There is a link in the chat to nativity windows. That's an idea there. This will go on there. We will be sending you out some highlights of the chat by email. The resources we have promised to give you for each of the 5 ideas, that is, we are going to be providing the obvious resources for Carols on Your Corner, Car Park Carols, Zoom Nativity, Bake Along a Christmas, and Walkabout Nativity. Those 5, we're going to be producing the resources you need. They're going to be out by the 5th of November. Some of you have registered to join our mailing list by coming to this. If you haven't, then can I suggest you go to our website to register. You'll get no more than 1 email a month, but you'll get one in November with these resources if you're worried about missing them. Can I, almost a final appeal, let's find the share there, great. Are you the leader of children's or family ministry in your church? If you are the leader, and just so you know, that doesn't mean you're paid, and you may be the only one who knows that. So, but if you are the leader of your children's or families ministry in your church, we would love to know your name, your church, and your postal address. So we very infrequently are going to would love to send you things that we think you could distribute in your church that could be useful. I promise Amy will not knock on your door. We're only wanting your postal address to send you lovely free things, and obviously you can tell us bog off whenever you want. But if you are the leader of the children's ministry in your church, we'd love to know a few more details about you: name, postal address, and your church. Okay, thank you. The last thing to say is the next time we are doing a big day out, more of this is planning for January, when no one knows. Amy has just a few minutes to tell us. She is going to tell us how she is feeling as we finish our time together. Amy.
So I think it's been a challenge this year, hasn't it? We've all learnt new skills. We've all had to work out how to do things differently. I think the big challenge of coming back to ministry in September was the number of times that we've had to write plans and make plans and come up with ideas and then throw them in the bin again. And I think that's hard. It's hard to keep motivated. It's hard to keep positive. And we've got sort of 2 options. We go into hibernation mode, like my tortoise that's currently in the garage in a box and won't appear again until March next year. Which can feel quite tempting, or to think this is what God has allowed. He is still on the throne of heaven, and this is an opportunity to start with a blank piece of paper to say, what do we do differently? How have we left the building for us literally as a church? And what is the challenge of being there for families and being visible in the community and being relevant and showing that although we might not be able to do everything the way that we've done things before, we can then say, let's do it differently. We've got an exciting blank sheet of paper, let's go for it. So I think for me, as somebody who finds a blank sheet of paper exciting, I have to channel that and I have to say, keep pitching ideas, keep being creative, keep talking to other people who inspire you, keep coming to things like this. And keep looking to Jesus, keep reading his word, keep your heart thrilled with the good news that you've got to share. So when I come with my 12 ideas and they're honed down to, well, it was supposed to be 5, but I made it 6. And then I pitch 6 of those ideas to my church leadership team and they throw 4 of them in the bin and we're sticking with 2 and we're going to make 2 happen. That's fine. My job is to keep pitching, keep thinking, keep dreaming, 12 big ideas. If 2 of them happen, that's a win. And I guess for me, how do you keep that motivation when often you're feeling, 12, lots of my ideas went in the bin. That's a bit sad. And for me, it's thinking, where is the joy in my story? So if you think, seeing as we're talking about Christmas themes, if you think of the story of A Christmas Carol, where is the joy in the story? So we've got a grumpy boss, you've got the ghosts of Christmas past, the ghosts of Christmas yet to come, you've got difficult Bob Marley, people in chains, you've got all the sort of doom of the story. The joy of the story is at the end, Tiny Tim gets the Christmas. Tiny Tim gets the brilliant day. Tiny Tim gets the joy. Tiny Tim's holding the turkey. God bless us, everyone. And we all have the little tear in our eye. For me, the joy in the story, for me as the kids worker, is the snotty-nosed little boy in my church, whose name I won't mention because he'd be forever known as that. But when I picture him and I think this is who I am championing, this is who this is for, I want him to enjoy something of Christmas. I want his heart to be thrilled. I want his tired mum to be encouraged. I want his family to remember that God is with us. No matter what else is happening, he has got that moment of joy of Jesus came for me. So the joy in my story is to remember who is the tiny Tim in your church congregation. Who's the kid who just grabs your heart that you think this is for him? So when you're writing your risk assessments and you're pitching to your leadership team and your ideas are being thrown in the bin and you've got a screen zoom, twitchy eye headache, picture Tiny Tim. He's the joy in your story. Pointing him to Jesus is why we keep going, because he's with us. Back to the beginning.
Let me pray.
Us.
All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son. They'll call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. Father, thank you for Emmanuel. Thank you that God was with us and God is with us. We are not alone. We can choose difficulty. We can choose uncertainty. We can choose risk because God is with us. Amen.